Now that you've learned about the coordinate plane, also called the coordinate grid, we're going to see how we can use it in Scratch to help us do our programming. This is what you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to pinpoint the sprite's location using the coordinate plane. And then you're going to learn how to use these blocks, which move the sprite or set the sprite in the coordinate plane to help do your programming. So you've got a block that says go to x equals some number, y equals some number. That will tell the sprite to go to the exact place on the coordinate plane you want it to go to. You can also tell it to glide for a certain amount of time to x equals something, y equals something. We're going to be learning about these move blocks in the next section. There's another one that says change x by, and then a certain amount, change y by a certain amount. That number can be positive or negative. And then there's another two blocks that you might use later. One says set x to, and the other one says set y to. So all of these might come in handy when we're trying to locate our sprite on the coordinate grid and make it move around on the coordinate grid. So if we've got a sprite that's sitting on a plain backdrop, how do we figure out where it is? How do you tell somebody else where it is? And how do you tell your sprite to go back to the starting position when you want to reset your program? So I think we might guess the sprite's somewhere near the origin in this slide, but what are you going to tell them about this one where it's up in the upper right corner someplace, or towards the top of the left side, or way down in the bottom of the right side, in fact, partly off the stage? So when we set a backdrop, and here's a backdrop from the backdrop library, the sprite doesn't know anything about what's on this backdrop, even though we can see there's a building and there's a road, and really the sprite should be standing on the road, not sitting in the middle of the air like this. Well, when we see this beautiful building design, the computer sees this, which is the coordinate grid. So notice we've got our x-axis here, we've got our y-axis. Our x-axis starts at the origin, 0, 0, and it goes out to x equals 240, y equals 0. The 240 represents the number of steps or pixels on this side of the screen. We also can go back the other direction to negative 240, 0. And then we have the y-axis, which goes up and down, and the y-axis is 180 pixels from the origin, going up or going down. So notice that your stage is not an exact square, it's a rectangle, and the x side is longer than the y side. We can go down. If we click on the sprite, we get this information box. And if you look down here, you'll see that it even tells us this sprite is at x equals 0, y equals 0 right now. That box also gives us more important information. We're going to talk more about this later, but right now you can look down there and you can see the name of the sprite. Again, you can see the location. You can see whether the sprite is showing or hiding. You can see the size of the sprite, and you can see the direction the sprite is going to be pointing in. All of these things will be explained later on, and you can even change where the sprite is by just changing the information right in this box. So now what I've done is I've moved my cat to where I would like it to be at the beginning of the program. And what I've done is pull out a block that says go to x equals negative 132, y equals negative 74. And the reason I know that it's negative 132 and negative 74 is that I click on the sprite to find the information, and I look down in the box and I can see negative 132 and negative 74. I can see that my sprite is at the normal size, 100. I can see it's pointing in direction 90, which is towards the right. And I can also see a little picture of the stage and that my sprite is showing, not hiding. So that box of information is really, really helpful later on. Next, what we're going to be doing is looking at the action blocks, which move the sprite around on the coordinate grid. Remember that the whole grid is 480 steps wide and 360 steps high. So moving a small amount of steps might not even be visible. And if you move too many steps, you're going to go right off the end of the stage.